has been rubbish
Very
because
well.
out of 20, for
Okay.
me, everybody should go, my brother. Everyone should go. We should
That's
press the
interesting.
reset button and we should forget about the World Cup and we should build our football from the grassroots back up to the top. That's what I think we should do.
Well, I will specifically come to the resetting that you've mentioned, but you made a mention of Otto Addo resigning. What do you think he is lacking as a coach? Because he's the same person who qualified us to the World Cup.
Yeah, well, he's lacking everything, isn't he? I mean, look, you've got to face the realities. Let me tell you something. Sometimes, even in our qualifications to the African Cup of Nations, there was work that was done behind the scenes. Please use your imagination.
Sure.
So if you think Otto Addo qualified us to the World Cup on his own, please, you're in the land of Oz. It's not possible. I think he lacks tactical ability. He lacks the experience of working with a senior team because he's never coached a senior team until he's come to the Ghana Black Stars. He's been coaching under 17s and under 19s for about a decade or more. And that's different from coaching a senior national team. That's different from coaching a senior club side too. He doesn't have that experience. We have seen when we've watched his games, his inability to change the game with the substitutions that he's brought on. I think, to be honest with you, it's only happened on one occasion, and that was against Niger, when he brought on a free-year, Division Two player who plays for the under-20, who came on and equalised. And we saw the reaction then. He ran onto the path and embraced the player. That's the only time we've seen, a tactical input that's had an impact. Other than that, his substitutions have been woeful. The team setup has been woeful. And the man management throughout the game has been absolutely terrible. So he lacks so much. It's untrue. I think he should go back to Germany. He says he's been under the tutelage of Klopp and Sammer and etc., etc. I think he didn't finish those lessons quite clearly because Klopp wouldn't say he's a product of him. And Sammer wouldn't certainly say that Otto Addo is a product from him either. I think he needs to go back to school. That's what he needs to do. He lacks the analysis and everything. And everybody who's there behind him, apart from John Painstill and Otto Addo, has been brought in by him. And none of them are good for purpose.
Don't you
None of
think?
them are good
Don't
for
you think the
purpose.
players lack desire?
Well, you see, that's a different issue to talk about. You see, because in terms of the players, we must always try to strike a balance. Let me tell you this: when you have a local league in your country, the aim and objective of having a local league is so that you can pick the best selectors, the best players in your local league, and put them together to form the national team, the various national teams. We've not been doing that. We've not been doing that. We've not even tried to strike a balance. At any time at all, we've included local players. It's by and large mainly goalkeepers. And that's even before Kurt Okraku's time. That's even before that. Now that 11 players at the end of the day had said they weren't turning up, all of a sudden we've discovered that there are players who play in the local league who can actually play in the Black Stars. And we've selected about 4 or 5 of them. That's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. Because at the end of the day, what is the motivation for a local player to play in our local league? Isn't it to play in a national team? It's got to be. To represent the creme de la creme of your country, to be a part of that. That's got to be the motivation. But we've been demotivating our local players because we've been overlooking them and telling ourselves that the players that we pick who play in Europe, who may have better exposure, etc., and there's no doubt about that. They've got better exposure. Some of them are better players by far. There's no two ways about that. Better marketability. Those are the things that we're looking at, especially the marketability, and that's why we pick them. So, we must strike a balance. There are good local players here that should be featuring in our senior national team. And I'll always say it. I don't agree that there should be a quota. I say that there should be a comprehensive selection criteria that is based on merit and merit alone. Not because I'm managing you, then you can go in there, and not because I'm not managing you, then you can't go in there. It must be based on merit. And there are lots of local players in our local teams who are good enough to play the Ghana Black Stars. They don't have the experience, but how do you get the experience? How do you get the experience if you're not given the opportunity? You're an experienced presenter, but when you first went, you weren't experienced. Someone gave you the opportunity, and from there, you have built up your portfolio, and now you're an experienced young man who's presenting on the airwaves. This is how it starts for everybody. This is how it starts, and we must give the opportunity to our local players based on merit. That's what we must do. Otto Addo has been unable to strike the balance between the call-ups for local players and foreign-based players. But by and large, it's not totally his fault because he's been dictated to, because he's not strong enough. He doesn't have the balls to stand up to the GFA and tell them, look, I've picked these players and these are the players I want, because he doesn't have a criteria. Only when you have a criteria can you stand up to them and tell them, no, I've picked them because of X, Y, and Z. But he doesn't have a criteria. He doesn't have one. So he can't defend his call-ups. And so his call-ups are manipulated left, right, and center in accordance especially with their marketability, the prospects of them being marketed even if they sit on the bench and earning money for those who manage them. That's, so he lacks so much. It's a shame. And to be honest with you, he lacks decency, because any decent person would have resigned. And that goes for the entire GFA as well. They all lack decency because you failed, and you've not failed as we have failed before. This is a monumental failure, because for the first time in 20 years, we are not going to the AFCON. And similarly, for the first time, we have lost, we didn't win any of our 6 matches. You might as well.
But Nana, you are a coach, and then he mentioned that that has been his nature. I'm a throughout his playing career, and he has adapted it in his coaching career as well. That when you are down, you should be mentally tough to say that, look, if I'm down 10 times, I'll rise again, and then get it right.
My brother, please, please. I mean, that sounds good on paper. You're experimenting with a senior national team, and perhaps what I've said earlier, you haven't really heard me. I am saying that in 20 years, for the first time, the senior national team of Ghana
is not
going to be at the AFCON. Let that ring in your ears. It's massive. Equally, 6 matches we have played, we have not won any. We are bottom of the group of a group that contains Sudan, who are in serious war right now. They play their home matches in Libya. We are talking about Niger, who the president of the GFA said those players couldn't fit into his Dreams FC. And we are talking about Angola. We are bottom of a group that contains these three countries. These 3 countries. Please, let it sink into you. Instead of asking me the questions, it's a monumental failure. It's colossal. It's not a record. It's not an enviable record to have as a president of a GFA, as a management of a senior national team, or as a coach and a technical team of a senior national team. That's like a concrete block around your neck, and you're about to be thrown into the sea. You cannot rise from that. You are dead. You will drown. Please, recognize this. It's serious. So it's not about, he believes we can rise from the ashes and blah, blah, blah. What did they tell us about the AFCON? Didn't they tell us they would qualify? They told us they would qualify. We are talking too much. Blah, 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 blah. We are unpatriotic. They told us all these things. And now look at what is happening. You're still saying he says he can rise above. Rise above where? Furthermore, the indications are that his contract says that if he doesn't qualify us for AFCON, that he should be dismissed. So what are we waiting for? If that is true, what is it that we are waiting for? I know that it's not the right time to appoint another coach. Let me tell you this. I know it's not the right time. It's not the right time. It's not the right time.
Why is it not the right time to appoint a new coach?
No, because we're still in the middle of this World Cup campaign, and you bring a new coach in, he's got new philosophy, he's got new ideas, he might want to call new players, so many different reasons. It's not realistically or ideally the right time. But at the end of the day, when is it the right time? This GFA has been in there for 5 years. They've had 5 coaches.
Yeah.
About 5 coaches, realistically.
Yeah.
5 coaches.
In
5 years. So when is it going to be the right time? Why should we listen to them? Why should we have confidence in them? Look, they were talking about bring back the love. Did you see the love in the stadium when we played against Niger? It was empty. Even when Kudus went to take the penalty, what were we saying? Away. There's no love for this team because we all recognize that the people who are running this team are running this team for their own selfish parochial gain. Right? We are very, very clear on it. As a nation, we are very clear. We are very clear that we are not using the best players to represent Ghana at senior national level. We are very clear. And the arrogancy, the petulance of this GFA, the way they want to talk to us in a condescending manner, it's too much. It's too much.
Where do we start from in attempt to get a formidable team back on track?
Well, you see, you don't just start with a senior national team. As I've said to you, we've got Pram, which is a school of excellence. Who graduated from that school? Name one player that's graduated from that school. Name one. Let me tell you, you don't start academies at the age of 15. You and I, we didn't first start going to school when we were 15 years old. And an academy is a school. That is what it is. It's a school. And we are now talking about, we've started the under-15s and blah, blah, blah. Look to Europe. Look to Europe and look at all those clubs at Europe. Let me tell you, their academies, they start from the under-5s, then the under-7s, then the under-9s, then the under-11s, the under-13s, the under-15s, the under-17s, the under-19s. It's an industry. They know what they're doing. They know what they're about. We don't know what we're doing. We do not know what we're about. We are trying to recreate the wheel when the wheel already exists. That's what we're trying to do. You don't start an academy at the age of 15 and think you have done something and expect people to clap for you. You have Pram over there and you're not doing anything with it apart from running coaching courses there and referee courses there. You're not doing anything with it. You're not maximizing its capacity. You have no academy, nothing. You're dependent on what other clubs produce. What do you produce as a GFA? Nothing. Talk, and more talk. That is what they produce. Nothing else. Nothing else. So I say that the reset button, there must be a reset button. And you see, one of the biggest problems is that, let's say 75% of those people who make up the general GFA council, they don't have an idea either. They're also bankrupt and bereft. They have no idea. You can throw them a bone and they'll support you. That's how bereft they are. No idea at all. No capacity to think beyond the bone that is being thrown to them. No capacity at all. Absolutely useless. The whole lot of them. Let me tell you. The whole lot of them. Because, football people, they call themselves, they should have got up and said, look, enough is enough a long time ago, but they won't. Because they're being thrown bones off the table, so they're busy crunching the bones.
Well, there will be stakeholders meeting, I think, on Monday. Will you be part?
I haven't received any invitation. Where's the stakeholders meeting? What's it about? Was it now they want to talk to? They want to find out our views. I don't know where it's being held. I don't know the agenda of it. I'm just hearing about it for the first time, to be perfectly honest with you. If it's possible for me to attend, I'll attend. But you know they don't want to hear from me. You know that. Because I'm not going there to sing their praise and applaud them for the worst record in Ghanaian football history. I'm not there for that. I'm there to go and tell them the truth. You guys ain't doing nothing except sucking the resources. That's all you're doing, sucking our resources down to the ground, and you're not producing anything. Nothing at all. They produce nothing. What have they